Hot.
You're okay with that? I just didn't want you to be dangerous.
Got everybody? Okay, this is the December 18th meeting of the Elizabethtown City Council. Tony Bishop will lead us in prayer.
Let me pray. Father, we thank you for this day, for all your blessings, kindness, and mercy that you have found us, our city workers, our employees, our special responders, be with all of them and their families. Be with our community. Today,
Amen. Join us in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Everything. Okay, the first order of business is the approval of the minutes from the December meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? I'm gonna skip number one. With a presentation from the Tourism Bureau.
Let's see, the Tourism Commission accepted the fiscal year ending 2017 annual audit at our December meeting. We've provided a copy to each of you. Once you have had an opportunity to review the document, please let Sherry Murphy or Susan Mauser know if you have any questions. The document will also be uploaded to the state's Special Purpose Government Entity website within the next month. We completed our meeting space market and financial feasibility study last week. Copies of the executive summary are provided. Please let us know if you have any questions. We feel the document provides great insight into Elizabethtown's meeting capabilities and a great deal of data for potential developers. As we mentioned in our last report, the Commission has decided to pursue the group tour market. As a result, Elizabethtown will be represented at the upcoming 2016 trade shows for Travel South, Going on Faith, Boomers in Groups, and the American Bus Association Marketplace, taking place in Louisville in 2019. The sports park was recently named a 2018 Reader's Choice Award by Sports Events Magazine. The park was the only Kentucky location to be named to this list. This award comes on the heels of October's online Facebook poll for being one of the top ballparks every event owner should visit. These awards are based on experiences by sports organizations and their participants' feedback of their time spent at the park, and we're pleased to have received both of these acknowledgments by this leading media group in the sports tourism industry. We also want to update you on the upcoming report of the economic impact study for the park. This study, which is being conducted by Sports Impacts, will be completed within the next couple of weeks, and we look forward to sharing these figures with you after the first of the year. We will work with the mayor to schedule a presentation when it fits within your agenda. Since our last report, the tourism building was used 7 days to hold 12 meetings with 407 attendees. If you have any questions, let us know. Thank you all.
I've got a question. I noticed we've got 2 new hotels going up. I've been looking at the feasibility study for the convention centers. How come you guys aren't building on the convention centers, those two new hotels right now? Wouldn't that be an ideal time to do that?
I have one new hotel going up.
But there's another one.
Right. I'm not familiar. I don't know about those folks, but on ours, when we actually, we looked at meeting space and we were not able to, it just did not work out numbers wise for us.
Thank you.
Thanks, Heidi.
You're welcome.
Sarah, want to
Talk about your event.
Had to get this in since you all are not going to be meeting today, if you don't mind. For me. Do it the quicker version. Just wanted to remind you all, in case you haven't heard yet, of the New Year's Dash 5K that we're going to be having once again. This is our 6th annual event. We partnered last year with Running Souls and Quixie, and of course, Quixie's been on board with us from day one, and Sicilian Bank is sponsoring this year. So it's just a great day to get out in the morning. We have anywhere from 125 to 250 runners. It always depends on the weather, depends on how many things are going on in town the night before. But it really is, we tag it as, the day to get your year started off right. So it's a commitment you can make, and you can walk it, you can crawl it, you can run it, you can do whatever you want to do. Bring dogs on leashes, kids in strollers. And then also we're partnering with the Central Kentucky Women Association. They also have a ride later in the day. They've been doing that for over 20 years. And so they've come to us and want to partner and help us out with the route and with some safety things, because the traffic, of course, we can't close it down due to all the residents living there, nor do we want to. So they're going to help a little bit with the safety of the route. And then we're also encouraging folks to later on, after you go grab lunch, then to go head on out for the race, which is free later on in the day. So we've also added a toast, a non-alcoholic toast, to the end of the 5K as well. So it's going to be a great day. Yes, Marty's making them. So let them know how you want them made.
Eggs.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thanks.
Can I add one
Yeah.
thing too? I just want to remind everybody, we don't have the representative from the State Theater yet, but there is going to be an event New Year's Eve at the State Theater where the Headhunters will be the headlining act. VIP tickets, I think, are still available, so you can have dinner. But there are 3 different levels of those tickets, so hopefully we'll be able to fill the theater up.
Thank you very much. We're going to go in and we have a proclamation. Do you have a representative who would like to join me up here, and I'm going to read this proclamation? Are all of you can come up? Well, there's just 2 of you, right? 3? Well, come on, there's plenty of room. Read this and present it. Well, first of all, why don't you come around here and introduce yourself to everybody? Because even though I've met most of you, you want to introduce yourself and tell them the purpose or what you're doing. You'll probably have to get closer to this.
Okay. I'm Michelle Smith, and I live in the community in Hardin County. And Mayor Barger's helped us with locating a place for our Bible reading marathon for Hardin County. It's a part of a group across the state of Kentucky. I'm the state coordinator, and also I'm coordinating Hardin County for the Kentucky 120 United Bible Reading Marathon. We are having the Bible reading marathon at the police station this year, and indoors where it's warm. A lot of counties do theirs outside, so we're really grateful for some heat and restrooms and facilities. So,
And we have to thank Chief Land, who's taking care of
Please,
that
yes.
for us. The police station,
Chief Land, yes,
which is
thank
open
you.
24 hours a day, so that was the perfect
Thank you,
spot.
Chief Land. We appreciate that.
You can come in.
And these are my friends, pastors of local churches, Pastor Pam Thorson, Reverend Pam Thorson, and she pastors the Lutheran House of Prayer. And and this is Pastor Amy from Assembly of God Church in Radcliffe. And and Pastor Velma from right here in E-Town at the
Streams in the
Streams in
Desert.
the Desert. Come on, hear about this. Is that going on?
Yeah.
And you're all welcome to join us for the Bible Reading Marathon. You can go to our website, ky120bible.com, and scroll down all the list of 120 counties and find Hardin County and click on the link to sign up
And this is something that's done.
across the state. And our governor reads traditionally with his family. He'll do that again in the Rotunda this year.
And your goal is to read the entire Bible in 48 hours?
90 hours of straight reading.
90 hours. Where'd I get 48 hours? That would have been speed reading, right? Okay, all right. Okay. Okay, so we have
Thank
a
you.
proclamation. I'll stand over here so I can. Whereas 2018 marks the third year Kentucky has led the nation in celebrating the Bible's significant impact on Kentucky and American institutions and culture by leaders in each county taking shifts to read through the entire Bible beginning January the 1st, 2018. And whereas John Jay, the first Chief Justice of the U.S. Supreme Court, proclaimed the Bible is the best of all books, for it is the Word of God and teaches us the way to be happy in this world and in the next. And whereas it is desired that the Bible be read aloud in its entirety in all 120 counties of the Commonwealth of Kentucky. Whereas beginning at 12:01 a.m. on January the 1st, 2018, the Bible will be continually read aloud, beginning in Genesis and ending in Revelations. Therefore, I, Edna Berger, Mayor, City of Elizabethtown, do hereby proclaim January the 1st through the 8th, 2018 as Bible Reading Week in Elizabethtown. So here you are.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you very much. And anybody that wants to join you is invited, right?
Mayor, it's nice that Kentucky leads the country in something that we can brag about.
Something that's positive. Yeah, I agree. Okay, we don't have a visitor. We're waiting for you. All right, okay. We're going to go ahead. I'm going to reappoint Dean Kuhn to the Elizabethtown Board of Zoning Adjustments for a term to expire December the 31st, 2021.
So moved.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
None opposed. Thank you. Ordinance number 1, 2018, closing a portion of the right-of-way known as Long Avenue. Motion to read, please.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
No.
Okay, you don't want to read it?
No.
Okay, 5-1.
Whereas the City of Elizabethtown, Hardin County Government, and Hardin Memorial Hospital, Hardin Memorial Health entered into a memorandum of agreement in January 2015 to work cooperatively for the expansion of Hardin Memorial Hospital to include the closure of streets in the general vicinity of Hardin Memorial Hospital. Be it ordained by the City of Elizabethtown, Kentucky, that from and after the passage, approval, and publication of this ordinance, that a portion of Long Avenue, as more particularly described in Exhibits A and B, is hereby closed as a public right-of-way pursuant to KRS 82.405, Sections 1 and 2. The Elizabethtown City Council hereby makes the following findings of fact. A, the following property owner is the only property owner on and abutting said portion of right-of-way known as Long Avenue to be closed, and that is Hardin Memorial Hospital, aka Hardin Memorial Health. B, written notice of the proposed closing was given to the property owner on and abutting said portion of right-of-way known as a portion of Long Avenue to be closed. C, the property owner on and abutting said right-of-way known as a portion of Long Avenue to be closed has given their written notarized consent to the closing, and a copy of same is attached hereto as Exhibit C. Pursuant to the above findings of fact and to KRS 82.405, the Elizabethtown City Council hereby determines that the portion of right-of-way known as Long Avenue as shown and described on Exhibits A and B should be closed, and that the owner on and abutting said portion of right-of-way known as Long Avenue, Hardin Memorial Hospital, Hardin Memorial Health agrees to said closing. Be it further ordained that the mayor of the city and or her designate be and she is hereby authorized and directed to take all steps necessary to perfect this ordinance, including execution of any and all documents, sales contracts, deeds, subdivision plats, forms, applications, and statements to transfer said property upon closure to Hardin Memorial Hospital, Hardin Memorial Health, the adjoining property owner. The city will retain utility easements for existing sanitary sewer and natural gas services provided by the city within the area closed as street right-of-way. The adjoining property owner has agreed to pay for all costs associated with the transfer of said property. And this was read the first time today, the 18th day of December, 2017.
Thank you, Dee Dee. Ordinance number 2, 2018, closing a portion of the right-of-way known as Woodland Drive. Motion to read, please.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye. No.
5-1.
Whereas the City of Elizabethtown, Hardin County Government, and Hardin Memorial Hospital, Hardin Memorial Health entered into a memorandum of agreement in January 2015 to work cooperatively for the expansion of Hardin Memorial Hospital to include the closure of streets in the general vicinity of Hardin Memorial Hospital. Now be it ordained by the City of Elizabethtown, Kentucky, that from and after the passage, approval, and publication of this ordinance, that a portion of Woodland Drive as more particularly described in Exhibits A and B, is hereby closed as a public right-of-way pursuant to KRS 82.405, Sections 1 and 2. The Elizabethtown City Council hereby makes the following findings of fact. A, the following property owner is the only property owner on and abutting said portion of right-of-way known as Woodland Drive to be closed, and that is Hardin Memorial Hospital, Hardin Memorial Health. B, written notice of the proposed closing was given to the property owner on and abutting said portion of right-of-way known as a portion of Woodland Drive to be closed. C, the property owner on and abutting said right-of-way known as a portion of Woodland Drive to be closed has given their written notarized consent to the closing, and a copy of same is attached hereto as Exhibit C. Pursuant to the above findings of fact and KRS 82.405, the Elizabethtown City Council hereby determines that the portion of right-of-way known as Woodland Drive, as shown and described on Exhibits A and B, should be closed, and that the owner on and abutting said portion of right-of-way known as Woodland Drive, Hardin Memorial Hospital, Hardin Memorial Health, agrees to said closing. Be it further ordained that the mayor of the city and or her designate be and she is hereby authorized and directed to take all steps necessary to perfect this ordinance, including the execution of any and all documents, sales contracts, deeds, subdivision plats, forms, applications, and statements to transfer said property upon closure to Hardin Memorial Hospital, Hardin Memorial Health, the adjoining property owner. The city will retain utility easements for existing sanitary sewer and natural gas services provided by the city within the area closed as street right-of-way. The adjoining property owner has agreed to pay for all costs associated with the transfer of said property. And this is read for the first time today, December 18, 2017.
Mayor, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
about those two ordinances? So what happens there, for instance, on Long, where it goes all the way down to Cardinal? I mean, will the street be dug up, Ed? Will there be a sign that says no entry? Will people be allowed to go up Long Avenue even
Yeah,
though it's not a public right of way?
It's correct. It's only being closed as a public right of way. The plans at this point actually are to keep the pavement in place and keep the roadway open. The hospital is having to file a subdivision plat to consolidate all their properties. Will, as was read in the ordinance, will retain an easement over the utilities. And then there will also be a public access easement over the roadway until such time in the future that the hospital does do an expansion and removes buildings. And they'll have to submit additional plans to the city before they do that, so we can make the public aware. But at this point in time, your all's action will be taken. Officially, it will be closed to the public, and it will be the hospital's responsibility to maintain those sections of the roadway, but the general public won't know any difference in traveling through that area.
But the property that the roadways are on, I know we're gonna maintain easements, but the property that the roads are on are city-owned property.
The road is dedicated to the public and the city maintains it.
Okay, so is there gonna be a transfer of property to HMH?
Yes, when you all take this final action, the city will actually transfer by deed that section of the roadway that is closed. So it will become hospital property, and they'll be responsible then for the maintenance of that roadway until it is removed at a future date. But it won't be removed until they present plans to the city about expansion of the facilities back in that area, and then we'll amend that plat and take the easement away. There will be a public access easement on the plat that consolidates it all into a single parcel.
This might be more of a question for Chief Malone, but it's my understanding that throughout the subdivisions, we were trying to connect as many subdivisions as we could, make first responder, bring those times down. Why is it we want to close Long Road, knowing that that's going to affect the connection point? But now the first responders are going to have to go around to get to Long Avenue instead of going to Woodland.
But they won't. The actual pavement and everything is staying open. There will be instead of being dedicated as right of way, there will just be an easement across that. So the actual roadways, the pavement surface
there's not going to be any barrier.
There won't be any barrier. So the pavement surface of Woodland Drive and both Long Avenue, like I said, will remain open. Once you all complete this action, 2 months from now, you go out there, it won't look any different 2 months from now than it does today until sometime in the future. Like I said, when the hospital says, okay, we're now demolishing all the buildings we own around here and we're submitting the city a new plan for another expansion of the hospital or an office building back there, they'll have to bring a plan back to us for approval. And they'll have to then release those easements. And at that point, as you point out, Bill, we'll make sure that we have those other connections. That's why, as part of that memorandum of agreement that you all signed with the county and the hospital 2 years ago, that's why the Hill Street connection was so important, because as you all pointed out, you didn't want that area to not have the interconnection that we have now. So the portion of that agreement said, we won't do any of this until the Hill Street connection has been done. And that's been completed, and that roadway's open. The hospital then had to come back and dedicate that to the city so we could maintain that area. So that portion of the agreement has been done. These are just the next steps in that process. Now that they've bought the Cardinal building and other buildings they now, from the hospital owns from the intersection with Lehman Lane south, they own all the property on Woodland Drive except where the Kentucky Utility substation sits. And now they own everything on Long Avenue on both sides of the street up to about Knowles. And again, their plan is to continue to purchase property in that neighborhood, so we won't have the issues of, I can't get access to my property. Well, the hospital's going to own it all at some point in time, whether that's 5 years or 10 years from now, I can't.
But Ed, did you say at some point in time, whether it be 5 or 10 years, and they acquire all that property? I mean, I know their ultimate plan, they would still have to come back to us at that time for our approval.
They have to come back to the city. I don't know that they'll have to come back to the council. They'll have to come back to the city and submit plans for whatever expansion of whatever buildings they propose. That'll have to be approved by the city. They'll also have to amend the plat that we're approving now and take that public access easement away. Because right now, like I said, even though it's not going to be publicly dedicated, there still will be a public access easement. It's just that the city won't have to maintain it.
But again, to reiterate, for the time being, whether it be 5 or 10 years, we or the public are not going to notice any difference.
You won't notice any
It'll
difference.
be there, and
Like I said,
access will be the same.
the difference is going to be, instead of being in public right of way and the city having to maintain it, is going to be in an access easement, and the hospital's going to have to maintain it.
That, you know, winter time's coming on. Snow removal, that's not on us, right?
It won't be after the transfer's done. Now, that probably won't be done until after the first of the year sometime, but you're right. Once it's out of our,
We have our second read.
once it's out of our maintenance system, then you're right. The hospital is responsible for those things.
If you hear of a big snow, let's call emergency meeting.
Now,
Get that read.
And the residents, I mean, they realize that they've been given any notice. Obviously, they have. They've sold their property.
They sold the property.
Somebody has sold.
yeah,
their
the section that is being closed, the hospital owns property on both sides of that. So the other portion of the street, I mean, the Public Works Department's still going to maintain and do snow removal on the section that has where the residents are. This is just the section that the hospital owns all the property on.
I gotta say, this is one of the most successful economic development things we've ever done. The hospital was flat broke. We voted to do this and they're flush with money.
Now they
Okay.
can sell it.
All right, let's move right along, okay?
Well, we disputed that
Okay.
point, I'm just saying.
All right. Ordinance number 3, 2018, amending the zoning map for property located at 917 Memorial Court from residential 1 to commercial 1 as requested by Bluegrass Developers of Hardin County. Motion to read the ordinance.
Second.
All those in favor?
All right.
Whereas,
None opposed.
okay.
All right.
Not this time.
All right.
Whereas the Elizabethtown Planning Commission held a public hearing on October 24th, 2017 and December 12th, 2017, initiated by Bluegrass Developers of Hardin County for property located at 917 Memorial Court, Elizabethtown, Kentucky. And whereas the Elizabethtown Planning Commission, based on the testimony at the public hearing, determined that the request to amend the official zoning map for property located at 917 Memorial Court to a proposed zoning district classification of commercial 1, C1, and that would be in agreement with the city of Elizabethtown's comprehensive plan, and that the proposed zoning classification would be appropriate for the property. In conformance with KRS 100, the Planning Commission has transmitted to the City Council findings of fact and a recommendation for approval of said request to amend the official zoning map, including a summary of evidence and testimony from said hearing. Now be it ordained by the City of Elizabethtown, Kentucky, that from and after the passage, approval, and publication of this ordinance, that the official zoning map is amended for property located at 917 Memorial Court from Residential 1 R1 to Commercial 1 C1. This action is taken pursuant to a request by Bluegrass Developers of Hardin County for property located at 917 Memorial Court and pursuant to the recommendation of the City of Elizabethtown Planning Commission. The City Council also finds that the proposed zoning classification is appropriate and that the map amendment request is in agreement with numerous guidelines and policies found in the plan. The findings of fact of the Planning Commission in support of this zoning map amendment are adopted as if set out verbatim. The legal description of said property is more particularly described in Exhibit A. Be it further ordained that the mayor of the city and or her designate be and she is hereby authorized and directed to take all steps necessary to perfect this ordinance. Read this the first time, the 18th day of December, 2017.
Thank you, Dee Dee. Ordinance number 4, 2018, amending the zoning map for property located at 600 Freeman Lake Road from residential R1 to residential 2 R2 as requested by Bluegrass Developer of Hardin County. Motion to read the ordinance. All those in favor? None opposed.
Whereas the Elizabethtown Planning Commission held a public hearing on October 24th, 2017 and December 12th, 2017, initiated by Bluegrass Developers of Hardin County for property located at 600 Freeman Lake Road, Elizabethtown, Kentucky. Whereas the Elizabethtown Planning Commission, based on the testimony at the public hearing, determined that the request to amend the official zoning map for property located at 600 Freeman Lake Road to a proposed zoning district classification of residential 2, R2, would be in agreement with the City of Elizabethtown's comprehensive plan and that the proposed zoning classification would be appropriate for the property. In conformance with KRS 100, the Planning Commission has transmitted to the City Council findings of fact and a recommendation for approval of said request to amend the official zoning map, including a summary of evidence and testimony from said hearing. Be it ordained by the City of Elizabethtown, Kentucky, that from and after the passage, approval, and publication of this ordinance, that the official zoning map is amended for property located at 600 Freeman Lake Road from residential 1 R1 to residential 2 R2. This action is taken pursuant to a request by Bluegrass Developers of Hardin County for property located at 600 Freeman Lake Road and pursuant to the recommendation of the City of Elizabethtown Planning Commission. The City Council also finds that the proposed zoning classification is appropriate and that the map amendment request is in agreement with numerous guidelines and policies found in the plan. The findings of fact of the Planning Commission in support of the zoning map amendment are adopted as if set out verbatim. The legal description of said property is more particularly described in Exhibit A. Be it further ordained that the mayor of the city and or her designate be and she is hereby authorized and directed to take all steps necessary to perfect this ordinance. Read the first time, the 18th day of December, 2017.
Mayor, if you don't mind, I have some questions for Ed.
Oh.
Ed, on this change from R1 to R2, we spoke on the phone and written in here that the staff at first was concerned about the environmental sensitivity to the area, the impact it might have if there's a catastrophic dam failure. And is the change from 22 lots to 20 lots, is that set you all at ease? So that's
No, it's still the staff recommendation that the property be left as residential 1. The testimony at the hearing and the conclusion that the Planning Commission came to, though, was because the area was shown on our map to be at a suburban residential density, which is up to 5 units per acre. And this development is quite a bit below that. It's single family only. That the commission felt that the distinction between the 22 lots down to 20 was not significant. It was not a big impact. The developers also, after our initial staff report, revised their plan to create a buffer area around the subdivision development that will screen the area from the park and lessen its impact. And again, the commission felt that then addressed those concerns in the plan, and that's why they recommended approval to
the
you.
staff has some concerns.
Our recommendation was to leave it at R1.
Is that the same for the C1 change as well?
No, we recommended approval on the C1.
Because I agree with the staff on the R1 to R2 change, environmental impact. It's right there below the dam. You know, is there a possibility that they could take that plot and just half it, maybe do half of that as development? Would that be more amenable to these folks?
Even at the R1, they could slightly change their design and would be under the city's or in compliance with our standards. So it would not, even at the R1 standards, the property would not be left that vacant, if you will. The R1 standards require 150 feet of frontage on a lot. Their subdivision proposes lots that have about 130 feet of frontage. So like I said, it would be a reduction in 2 lots, which really would not significantly change their impact and would not leave an area more reserved for open space.
That being said, would you recommend that the city just buy that property behind the dam? That we would maintain it? That'd be
I mean, that would be a way to address the concern in that area, to set it aside and keep it, yes.
I think there's, if I may, I believe there's still some confusion.
Okay.
You're all, the planning commission, excuse me, the planning department originally was against the R1 to R2 zone change. And the reason is because in the comprehensive plan, which dated back to the last major revision, 2004, wanted that as low density as possible below the dam in case there were an issue. You figured that there was a safeguard to put in there. We know it's going to be developed. Let's make it as low density as possible, which is R1.
Correct.
Okay. So someone could come in with an R1 development there and get 20 lots.
Correct.
What the developers have now done through a compromise, basically, the developers were at the table, the residents were at the table, and the planning commission was at the table. And everybody expressed their concern over 3 different meetings, basically 1 long or 2 divided public hearings. A lot of testimony was heard, and there was a compromise made where the developers came back and said, we're not going to do as many lots as they originally projected to do, which was 26 or 27.
Correct.
They scaled down theirs to 22, which is awful close to the recommended 20. Their zone, to me, it's not an R1, it's not an R2. It'd be nice if you had R1.5. I mean, because they are really, I mean, the density, guys, if it's okay for 20 lots, it's okay for 22.
But Ed, you're saying you don't even want it to be R1. You would
No,
rather have
no. That's where the confusion is.
Well,
We're saying in the original, if I may, in the original comprehensive plan from 2004, it says R1 is fine. That's the way it was listed.
it lists suburban residential. That's correct.
So 20 lots would have been fine. Through a series of meetings and compromises and testimony, the developers have come back and they've scaled down their development from 26 or 27 lots to 22. That's the only difference, 2 lots. Right next to this property is Clay's Landing Apartments.
Yeah, because
And it's very
in our zoning ordinance currently, we don't have a category of conservation or open space zone that totally prohibits development. So as Councilman Bennett points out, the only way for the city then to assure that there is no development on the piece is for us to publicly own that and set that aside. There was a lot of discussion, as Councilman Shipp points out, at the public hearing about the breach analysis that was done. Even though the dam at Freeman Lake is classified as a high hazard dam, that does not prohibit development below the dam. What it requires the city to do is have a response plan, which the fire department has done as being our responding agency. And as part of that plan, then what they have to do is notify occupants who are determined to be in that area that would be impacted if the dam would breach. Excuse me. So
I guess I'm asking, I'm gonna ask this again in another way. The ideal situation would be for the city to purchase that property and have that as a buffer.
I think so, yes, to have it as a buffer. You're correct. But I mean, it was on the market and the city didn't buy it, and you had a private developer buy it at R1 zoning, and they chose to make a request to us to look at R2 zoning. It meets, as the commission has recommended to you all, that suburban residential density on our map. It meets that standard. So like I said, the commission felt because it met that standard, was in conformance with the map. And as Terry points out, they made some design changes from the first to the second meeting. The commission felt because it was in conformance with the map and the guidelines in the plan, they recommended that it be approved.
Since that is going to be below the dam, is that property then considered flood zone?
No, it is not, because of the dam structure, the actual flooding area is contained within the channel in that, or the 100-year flood is contained within the channel in that portion. I mean, that's why we have a dam, to help control flooding issues. And in this case, because it is so close to that area, yes, the stream or the flooding is controlled within that section. Now, it is impacted by the 500-year study. So through the stormwater department, their engineer will prepare plans to see how that's addressed. There is a proposed basin that does set aside some area. That's I think another reason why the commission got comfortable with the impact on the adjoining piece, is because of the basin and that set aside. There's greater setbacks on I think 3 or 4 of the lots as open space areas. So like I said, the density is quite low. I mean, it's just over 1 unit per acre. So it's, I mean, that's about as low as we get in Elizabethtown.
And you've addressed my other concern, because, you know, when you have development, you've got more concrete and asphalt, you got runoff into Freeman Creek there. And though it might not affect the flooding at that point, of course, as you go downstream, you know, they got more prone to flooding.
Right.
And we've addressed these issues before about Freeman Creek.
Yes.
And I guess Robert knows that our long-term plan is to try to reduce that flooding. And so certainly I'd like to hear from him in the future about this issue, how we can prevent that.
I think too, as Steve mentioned at our meeting last week, it's also affects how we look at our comprehensive plan.
Right.
Because right now they're voting on as our plan.
That it?
Well, we will be voting on this at our next.
At the next
At your meeting in January.
The only suggestion that I would make to the council, if you are thinking about voting not in favor of the commission's recommendation on this, my only suggestion would be to review the tapes from those public hearings. Because, I mean, I made a comment after the close of the public hearing that, to me, it was an example of really good government at work, because good government works best when there's a lot of people involved from all sides of the situation. And that's what we had on these hearings. And that's what the commission came up with a majority vote to allow this zoning to change. So the only point I would make is, if you think that you're going to vote against it, at least look at the tape of the hearings and read the testimony first.
And you might want to go by and see if we would be interested in purchasing property, the city.
But if you're going to purchase property like
I don't
this,
think we do
you're,
that.
you're a little late in
Yeah,
purchasing
yeah,
this
no.
property.
And
I would, I mean, because Councilman Shipp is the liaison to the Planning Commission, I would echo his comments. The hearings over several meetings, I mean, it's probably 3.5, 4 hours of testimony. And there were a lot of people involved, and it was some very good and open discussion. And as we've mentioned here, I mean, changes were made to the plan to get to the point where everybody thought it was more compatible with the neighborhood and those kind of things. So, I mean, it was a good effort, I think, on everybody's part. And the Planning Commission asked a lot of good, tough questions of both sides and had a lot of good discussion. So it was a good, I mean, it was long, but it was a good process.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ed. Okay, we have one more ordinance, number 5, 2018, amending the zoning map for property located at 1904 North Miles from residential R2 to residential 6, R6, as requested by TDA Properties. Motion to read the ordinance.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Whereas the Elizabethtown Planning Commission held a public hearing on December the 12th, 2017, initiated by TDA Properties for property located at 1904 North Miles Street, Elizabethtown, Kentucky. And whereas the Elizabethtown Planning Commission, based on the testimony at the public hearing, determined that the request to amend the official zoning map for property located at 1904 North Miles Street to a proposed zoning district classification of residential 6, R6 would be in agreement with the City of Elizabethtown's comprehensive plan, and that the proposed zoning classification would be appropriate for the property. In conformance with KRS 100, the Planning Commission has transmitted to the City Council findings of fact and a recommendation for approval of said request to amend the official zoning map, including a summary of evidence and testimony from said hearing. Be it ordained by the City of Elizabethtown, Kentucky, that from and after the passage, approval, and publication of this ordinance, that the official zoning map is amended for property located at 1904 North Miles Street from residential 2 to residential 6. This action is taken pursuant to a request by TDA Properties for property located at 1904 North Miles Street and pursuant to the recommendation of the City of Elizabethtown Planning Commission. The City Council also finds that the proposed zoning classification is appropriate and that the map amendment request is in agreement with numerous guidelines and policies found in the plan. The findings of fact of the Planning Commission in support of the zoning map amendment are adopted as if set out verbatim. The legal description of said property is more particularly described in Exhibit A. If further ordained, that the mayor of the city and or her designate is be and she is hereby authorized and directed to take all steps necessary to perfect this ordinance, read the first time this the 18th day of December 2017.
Thank you, Dee Dee. Tonight, the very, very first thing on our agenda was delayed because we were waiting for Senator Parrott. So now, Representative Duplessis and Senator Parrott would like to come forward. We'll go back to number 1 on the agenda.
He got here before, or I got here before he did, but he came better dressed.
Yeah, he really did.
Uh,
Jim, but it's
I got
okay.
I got called to an emergency meeting for a customer in Owensboro. And so I burned the roads to get here, and so, but I wasn't going to miss this for Mr. Deneen. So I didn't get changed, but Dennis, you want to start?
Yeah, I'll just talk about Jim Deneen. You know, on the way in the 45 minutes it took me to get from Frankfurt to here, I got to think about a lot of stuff. You know, one thing I could say is if there's a definition of community service, it's Jim Deneen and his entire family. And, you know, known him for a while and never been not super impressed with the things he does and his passion for the city of E-Town and Hardin County in Kentucky. And wonderful family. And it's obvious that he's passing it along, you know, to his sons, you know, with their active as they are in their communities as well. So could pick a better person in a better place to honor, to recognize a wonderful gentleman. So.
And I won't repeat his words, but Mr. Deneen, you've done what you've done for years. I've seen you working in rooms hotter than this over coals, cooking chickens to raise money for people who needed eyeglasses or what have you. I've watched you with my own eyes as you serve our community, and you haven't done it for personal gain nor political gain. You've done it to help people. And in this season of Christmas where Christ came and he gave, it's nice to be able to recognize somebody who's doing it for the right reasons. And so, Mr. Deneen, Dennis and I would like just to recognize you. And and the Senate is the upper house. So
Certainly.
we had to have a discussion as who got to put their thing at the top. So we went with the Senate. But we both got our names on this thing. The Senate of the Commonwealth of Kentucky To all to whom these, maybe you should read it. Presents shall come greetings. Know ye that Jim Deneen is recognized and honored by his fellow members of the Elizabethtown Lions Club for his many years of distinguished service on behalf of this worthwhile organization and the community at large. A native of Cumberland, Maryland, Mr. Deneen is an honorable veteran of the United States Army who served his country with great valor for 21 years as a member of the Military Police Corps, ultimately retiring in 1980 as a Sergeant First Class. He moved to Elizabethtown that same year, where he served briefly as assistant manager at Carter Lumber Company. He began his career as a civil servant at Fort Knox, as an exhibit model maker with the FAJC, retiring from that position in 2003, with a combined 44 years of distinguished government service. Since his retirement, Mr. Deneen has labored diligently in service to his community and his fellow citizens. He has been an active member of the Elizabethtown Lions Club, joining in 1998 and serving as president from 06 to 07. He has been named as a Melvin Jones Fellow, a Finis Davis Fellow, and Lion of the Year, and has served as co-chairman of the Kids Site program since 2004. In addition to his service to Lions Club, he is a 32nd degree Mason, a member of the Morrison Lodge number 76, a Shriner, and a member of the Coast Temple and a Rios Shrine, and the club past president of the SJR ARKO board member. Did I get that right? A life member of the Disabled American Veterans number 003, and a member of the American Legion number 113, the National Active and Retired Federal Employees Association, and the AARP. He has also served as the Hardin County Coordinator for COSAIR Charities and a board member of the Hardin County History Museum. And inasmuch as this esteemed Kentuckian has continually utilized his time, talent, and resources for the benefit of others, Jim Deneen, Jim Duplessis is the next one. Jim Deneen is offered sincere commendation and gratitude for his immeasurable contribution to his community, state, and nation. Has extended the best wishes for every future success as he continues to serve the interest of the common good. And on the motion of Senator Dennis Parrott and Representative Jim Duplessis, is hereby deemed by this honorable body worthy of this recognition. So, thank you, Mr. Deneen. And you see why Senator Parrott had me read it. Wow. And normally, normally these citations that we do are on 8.5 by 11s, but you'll notice this is not an 8.5 by 11. There was just too much that Mr. Deneen has done in his lifetime so far, and I know those will continue to go. One last thing that we put together for Mr. Deneen. Mr. Deneen, as you heard, is a active Lion, and he had mentioned that the Lions were in need of a new state flag. So we got him a new flag that's been flown over our state capitol with a certificate that you can give to the Lions Club that you can present from yourself. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you very much. No, I couldn't say too much after that. I think he meant somebody else, not me. I do like the community. I'm one of these type of people that if I see something that needs fixed, I'll ask for it to be done, and if not, I'll do it. I've done this all my life, and my main goal is children. And I don't know how many of you here know that I work with COSAIR Charities. I've done this since 1984. And if you find a family that needs help with medical expenses, give them my phone number. I'm in the phone book. Like I said, I've been doing this since 1984. I average anywhere from 75 to 100 families that I help a year. But something that's in me. My mother put it in me, and it's still there. And I hope to continue with it. My son standing up back there, he came in from Colorado. And the one behind the post that you all had so much problems with, that's my youngest son. My middle son couldn't make it. So, thank you again. I
Jim,
appreciate it.
thank you. Everybody in Elizabethtown knows what a wonderful example you are. And Jim and Dennis, thank you all so much for recognizing this outstanding citizen of Elizabethtown.
Mayor, let me also add, without Jim Deneen, that museum across the way wouldn't be working. He keeps that place running, and anytime we need something or need something fixed, he does it. In fact, he's the only one brave enough to get in the bucket truck, change the lights up at the top there. That's because Bob Hicks makes them, but Jim will do it. And I tell you what, without him, y'all wouldn't have that museum. So I thank him for that as well. Absolutely.
I enjoy doing it.
Thank you.
Okay, we just have a few municipal orders. Do this municipal order number 67, 2017, accepting donation of property located at 325 Henry Street. Motion to read the order, please.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
At a regular meeting of the City Council of Elizabethtown, Kentucky, held on the date set out below, a motion to read and adopt the following municipal order was duly made, seconded, and approved. Whereas the City of Elizabethtown desires to conserve and maintain areas for stormwater drainage that benefit the community, and whereas William Rogers owns property at 325 Henry Street and wishes to donate the property to the City of Elizabethtown, now be it ordered by the Elizabethtown City Council that the city accepts the land donation and transfer of property at 325 Henry Street. Upon obtaining ownership of the property, the City Council authorizes that the structure be removed and the land be maintained and reserved for use in any future stormwater drainage project. Be it further ordered that the mayor of the city and or her designate be and she is hereby authorized and directed to take all steps necessary to perfect this order, including but not limited to the execution of any agreement, deed, settlement statements, IRS forms, or other documents and forms. Read, adopted, and approved this the 18th day of December, 2017.
Thank you, Dee Dee. Motion to adopt the order.
Motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed. Thank you. Municipal order number 68, 2017, accepting the bid from Phillips Brothers Construction for the Pear Orchard Road Improvement Project in the amount of $997,200. Motion to read, please.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
At a regular meeting of the City Council of Elizabethtown, Kentucky, held on the date set out below, a motion to read and adopt the following municipal order was duly made, seconded, and approved. Be it ordered that the city accepts the bid from Phillips Brothers Construction for the Pear Orchard Road Improvement Project in the amount of $997,200. Be it further ordered that the mayor of the city and or her designate be and she is hereby authorized and directed to take all steps necessary to perfect this order, read, adopted, and approved this the 18th day of December, 2017.
Thank you, Dee Dee. Motion to adopt, please.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Municipal order number 69, 2017, accepting the bid for the North Miles Storm Sewer Project. Motion to read, please.
Motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
At a regular meeting of the City Council of Elizabethtown, Kentucky, held on the date set out below, a motion to read and adopt the following municipal order was duly made, seconded, and approved. Be it ordered that the City of Elizabethtown accepts the following bid for the North Mile Storm Sewer Project. And that is from Contech Engineered Solutions for 36-inch pipe, 800 LF, at the total price of $32,104. Be it further ordered that the mayor of the city and or her designate be and she is hereby authorized and directed to take all steps necessary to perfect this order, read, adopted, and approved this the 18th day of December, 2017.
Thank you, Dee Dee. Motion to adopt.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And municipal order number 70, 2017, approving the agreement with Bluegrass Developers for a donation of property. Motion to read, please.
Motion.
Second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
A regular meeting of the City Council of Elizabethtown, Kentucky, held on the date set out below, a motion to read and adopt the following municipal order was duly made, seconded, and approved. Be it ordered that the City of Elizabethtown, Kentucky approves the agreement with Bluegrass Developers of Hardin County, LLC, for the donation of property described as Lot 133A, Nicholas Ridge Subdivision, Section 3. Be it further ordered that the mayor of the city and or her designate be and she is hereby authorized and directed to take all steps necessary to perfect this order, read, adopted, and approved this the 18th day of December, 2017.
Thank you, Dee Dee. Motion to adopt.
Motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Mayor,
Mhm.
I did vote. I'll vote in favor of adopting it, but the only thing I would mention, and this kind of goes back to what Tony mentioned a while ago, this is one of those areas that this was certainly not a slam dunk. And this is an area where we really need to improve upon. And hopefully when we do our new comprehensive plan, we will address all of these issues because this was, to me, this was really a gray area. And I don't think that's good necessarily in city government to have these gray areas because then that makes it arbitrary and we should have a little more of a set protocol for these things, in my opinion. So anyway, I vote for it, but this is something that we need to work on.
Okay, so 5-1. Okay, Municipal Order 71, 2017, authorizing and providing for the conveyance of fee simple title to property related to the city's industrial building revenue bonds. This is the Altech project, Series 1997. Motion to read, please.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Whereas Altech Industries Incorporated, an Alabama corporation, constructed and equipped a building for the manufacture of aerial devices in the city of Elizabethtown, Kentucky, after the city agreed to issue $8 million of its industrial building revenue bonds, Series 1997. And whereas under the terms of a lease agreement by and between the company and the city, the company agreed to pay sufficient amounts in ample time to pay the principal and interest requirements of the bonds, as well as all other amounts due thereunder. And the bonds were retired on October 1st, 2017, all payments due under the bonds having been paid by the company. And whereas under the terms of the lease, the company retained the option to purchase the project and the site thereof upon the payment of all of the bonds and upon the payment of an option purchase price of $10. Now, therefore be it ordered by the City Council of the City of Elizabethtown, Kentucky, as follows. 1, based upon the payment in full of the bonds, the city hereby agrees to convey fee simple title to the project and the project site together with all improvements on the project site to the company. 2, that the mayor and the city clerk are hereby authorized and instructed to execute a deed with respect to the project and project site and any releases of the lease or any mortgage deed of trust if required. 3, that the mayor and the city clerk are authorized and directed to execute all other and further instruments necessary and desirable in carrying out the release of the project and project site and the conveyance of the project and project site to the company. 4, that this municipal order shall take effect from and after its passage and approval. And this was adopted at a duly convened regular meeting of the City Council of the City of Elizabethtown, Kentucky on December the 18th, 2017.
Thank you, Dee Dee. Motion to adopt.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Miss Becky Rock, Harrell, what is it, Rock? Oh, Harrell, okay. Miss Harrell wants to come before the council. I think her son busted a tire on a Springfield Road and.
Right.
Go ahead.
I don't know a lot of how to do this, but anyway, we're going to try. My son was traveling on December the 6th at around 2 p.m. on Springfield Road coming into Elizabethtown. He went under the overpass over I-65. He was on that stretch right there. He called me immediately. I was at work, and he called not long after, I guess, the incident happened. He said, "Mom, I hit something with my truck." He had just had the truck a week. He was involved in an accident back in 2015 and was hit by a semi and didn't have a vehicle until a week before that. And he was all upset. His tire went flat immediately. So when we loaded the truck up onto the wrecker or on the back of Pokes, came and got it, I went back to the site because he had drove it up a little bit before, it had went flat. And when I went back to the site, I took a couple of pictures, and I was gonna, if that's okay, if I can send those around. This is exactly what he hit. I don't know if it's a gas pipe, water pipe, I didn't get right up on it, but the cup that goes over was up halfway like a half moon up in the road. And so I immediately went back, and when I saw that, I called the city, the water and gas company. They sent me right straight back to the department. I explained to him immediately what had happened, asked him to please get someone out there to please fix it because I don't know anything about the piping. I don't deal with all that. And so when when I did, the gentleman called me back a little while later. It wasn't long. And he said, and I saw him go out there because I passed him on the way because I was trying to get to the place where they were taking my son's truck. And when I got back home, he called later that afternoon, very nice. And he said, well, ma'am, he says, I'm in the area of Springfield Road. Said, where exactly did this happen? I don't see anything wrong. And I said, well, it's okay. I said, I took pictures. I thought that might be what was said. I did take some pictures of the area. So those are the pictures that I took. And they did go ahead and turn it into the insurance with Cornelius Knight with Collins. And this is the letter that I got back just stating that they find no negligence as part of my insured, which is the city of Elizabethtown. And they had no knowledge of any problems with this lid. Therefore, I must respectfully deny your claim for damages. Well, it was $75 for the wrecker fee, and then it was $388.76 for the tire. So I'm out $463 for a wrecker fee and a tire on a new truck he had just gotten a week ago, or a week before that. I went back today just to see, but let me back up a little bit. Before I went back, when I went back the next day to pick him up to go get his truck when it was ready, there was a city guy behind me, and I sort of looked out my mirror, and he was scombing that area again. And I just thought that was really, really odd that he would be right back out to the same area within a matter of less than 24 hours, checking that area if there really wasn't anything wrong with it before. I went back today, and this is the picture of the thing. They have actually now painted it yellow. And then I took one from the end to say that it was, it is level now with the road, but obviously in my first pictures, it was not level with the road. And all I'm asking is reconsideration, for the $463.76 due to the fact that that was up out of the road. It wasn't anything we stopped and pulled up out of the road. He is a 23-year-old young man. He does, like I said, he's been through a lot after being hit, and then he's all upset about his truck. Didn't hurt anything other than a big hole in a tire. And that's just, like I said, I actually called Miss Berger, Mayor Berger, and asked her, hey, what's my next option? What can I do? And, I feel like this is negligence at that point. Why have you been out 3 times, checking the area since, I was really concerned, and I'm just asking. I'm not begging, pleading, I'm just asking. Okay.
And I appreciate that. We have, as a rule, the city council, the mayor, no one, we don't have a fund of money to say, or
Right.
we don't second guess the adjuster. But this is the only to appeal if you.
How would that have come out of the road? What made it come up?
I don't know.
Where's our guest? Do you want to respond to that? Why is the cap up out of the road?
Fortunately, this was first notice he had problem. How I would think that. We got the call that they had an accident. So naturally, we investigated. We also took. It was in place. It was loose. There was cracking on it. And then I explained her, basically. See what happens with that. Turns calls back and says, well, have you checked the valve? Have you taken pictures? Yes, we've done all that. I said, well, it's not in bad shape. That valve's probably been in place since the 80s. And it's not something that's going to. Well, if there's anything that's why they went out and
Matthew, what's the diameter of that cap?
So it's not fastened down, it's just sitting there on the road.
Matt, you said that had been there roughly since 1980? Was that the same cap that had been there? I mean, the cap had never been?
I'm sure.
Okay. But that has been there since 1980, roughly.
I don't have documents. That leads you to believe that's in roughly.
Matthew, and those, no run out there to take that lid off and put it back on recently.
Our first. Second time we went out. Might have out there. Part of that.
Yes.
The only thing I would mention is I think this is kind of like a sewer issue to me. And we have certain times where we have sewer failures. And if our insurance adjusters refuse to pay those claims because they see no negligence, then that's the reason why we as a council try and rely upon what the adjuster tells us, because it takes us out of the equation. And it's because if my next door neighbor did it, you know, I can't come in and tell all the other council members, hey man, it's my next door neighbor, you know, he cuts my yard for free or whatever it is, let's fix his tire. So we've kind of had a policy that we rely on our insurance company, which the Kentucky League of Cities is involved in that as well. And that's just kind of the protocol that they use with all municipalities, not just Elizabethtown. That's the recommended course of action. So I think if the insurance adjuster had called and said, hey, we've got a claim on so-and-so gas cap on Springfield Road, and if Matt had said, oh, I know, I've got that on my list, you know, we're getting ready to go out there and fix it, then that is negligence, because we have allowed something that we were unaware of that needed repair to go undone. And I think that's the way the sewer situation works as well.
Sounds to me like to us, listen to him, he must have found some because they fixed it.
They've been
and
back. I mean,
fixed
they
it
went
and
back
already
that
repaired
next
it.
morning. They went back that morning. The next morning, the guy was out there again at 10:30. I mean, I'm not going to argue. I wanted to bring it in front of you. I'm just asking a
Yeah,
question.
we've had situations at the store, we've had a gas cap that came up, and once it was told, in fact, one of the customers with the city, so we called and had to repair. It's one of those, if we do it.
Oh, they went out
at that time, we
immediately,
didn't know,
right?
so-
But I mean, it's cost us $463 for a gas cap that's not our gas. I mean, I feel like it's sort of also a thing that if someone fell in my yard because I didn't fill that hole, my insurance company's going to have to go. I mean, it was negligence on my part, you know, it's sort of part, you know what I'm saying? It's just sort of part of that. And I guess, you know, it's negligence in the road. Right.
You care
But
if I ask you a question?
No, sir.
I don't think you told us what your son's name is.
Kyle Harrell, Kyle, Kyle.
And you gave the adjuster your photos that you took at the time of
Yes,
the
ma'am.
accident?
I had sent them to the gentleman from the city. And then he had sent them on to the adjuster. Yes. I appreciate it. Thank you. Can I get my papers back?
Thank you.
You too.
Okay, our next meeting is not until January the 8th. And we're going to, I'm going to ask for a motion to close the meeting first. Before we, okay. I need a motion to close the meeting pursuant to KRS 61.810 to A, conduct deliberation on future acquisition or sale of real property by the city, and B, to discuss the general nature of existing and possible litigation by the city.
I'll make a motion there.
I will second that motion, Mayor.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Now, Mrs. Walker has something planned for all of us. So,
He's gonna start us though.
Oh, Lord.
Lord, this will never fit Thomas's head.
This is, you're talking about drink.
Wait, this is not.
a 1 and a 2 and a 1 and a
Do we have to show this as part of the club?
Oh, you're off, right?
He's off. He's off. All right, here we go. Here we go.
Wish you a Merry Christmas.
We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Good tidings we bring to you and your kin. Good tidings of Christmas and a Happy New Year. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Now they know why we discontinued this 5 years. Oh, my Lord.
Okay.
This was a deal.
Yeah, but it seemed like it went a lot faster back in the old.
Yeah, a little better. Way short.